All this talk about the young ones seems to me much too cheesy, as they grow up fat and soft, because we made it all too easy. I've been there, I've done it, bought the t-shirt, have the scar, while all you kids can think of now is, what will be your latest car? All the strength and all the passion, all those latest songs you've sung, all that energy you've wasted. Youth is wasted on the young. I'm too young to be too old, and though slower, I am deeper. I've been through shit you'll never know, but today, I'm my own keeper. The wars I fought to make your world a better place had moments filled with unsung glory. But for you, you selfish youth, I'm just a has-been with a story. See my hoary head of hair, see my wrinkles, feel my loss. Shashan the jazz. We'll do this one again. All right, let me get into the mood. See my hoary head of hair. See my wrinkles, feel my loss of dear friends now long departed. All deserve the Victoria Cross. So let death catch me dancing. And to hell with that old Nick. I have seen too many demons to be scared of that old prick. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, ladies and gentlemen, friends, and whatever you may feel like being. It's been a long haul to get this done. This book has been done for Calpe House Fund, and I'm very grateful to Dennis Valerga for the music. He has done it for me, and to several artists like Jonathan Hewitt and several others that have illustrated the poems. And that has been their contribution. I'm also grateful to My Wines for giving us this beautiful place to be together and enjoy it. And that poem that you've heard now, my poems come from real life things, real life situations. In a November a few years back, a Chelsea pensioner came to Gibraltar on holiday, on an autumn holiday, and it was one of these scorching days that you don't expect in November. The poor man was in his long red woolen coat with his metal ribbons here, sudando sangre, man. He was really bad. He was sweating bullets on it. And he sat on one of the benches in Main Street, and we sat and talked, and he gave me his impression of the youth, and this is what I made into a poem. Now tonight, we have a few poems now, then we'll have a break, in which if you'd like to buy any of the books, they're available, and every penny from the sale of the books goes to Calpe House Fund. And if you'd like it signed, I will do so gladly. They say that el dolor es el amigo del poeta. Pain is the poet's friend, because when you've got good news, when you've got a new job, when you've proposed to somebody and they've said yes, when you win the lottery, you go out and enjoy yourself. You can't write poetry then. But when something hurts you, when something touches your heart and your soul, when you're quiet, that's when the words come out. And if you can put your feelings into words, and when you say these words out, the people who hear it feel it, then you have a good poem. Tonight I'm going to carry on now, because some of you may know that about 10 years ago, after I retired from the clothing industry, I became a jeweler. My son, who is a great support to me, said, "Dad, you know nothing about jewelry." And I said, "Great, I can't get any worse than this." Today, I do designing, I do my own production, and I produced something called concept jewelry, which is that you think of a philosophy, of a concept, and you create a jewelry piece around it. And then, if possible, you even write a poem. I did one that's called The Four Foundations, and you'll find it on page 187, and it's a silver pendant. It has 4 crystals. And the 4 foundations of society, of humanity, are faith, love, hope, and charity. Faith is a white diamond. Love, red, can't be any other color. Hope is as big as the sky, so it's in blue. And charity, which is a mixture of faith, white, and love, red, and it's a pink stone. And the poem goes like this, because society is always seeking something new to believe in, instead of valuing what we have. A new year is starting, and as we look around, seeking values that will last, at least till next December is past, so we surf the net for a newer sound, for a newer music, for a newer phase, whether spiritual or Zulu, or an ever more confusing guru, for an even newer faith. As if our past held no values, we seek the fashion and the new. The old must be buried. We're now better and more varied, and past beliefs are passé and few. Yet what we all share is humanity. And 4 values are its foundations, old as time, both in your wisdom and in mine. True for all peoples, all nations. The first one is faith, separate from religion. It is a belief in a creator, with love, logic, and no room for the hater. Respect for all others, avoiding collision. Then comes love, not to be confused with lust. Love is born of pure passion, not of the carnal, but of compassion, and supported only by trust. The third is hope, for a better tomorrow, through both words and actions, bringing closer all factions to enjoy a full life without sorrow. And the fourth, which is charity. We must understand we are all brothers, here to help those in need, regardless of color or creed. After all, were we not all born from mothers? Thank you. Thank you. And from that, I've chosen 4 poems to tell you tonight about them, about faith, about love, about hope and charity. Page 49 in the book, you will find a poem called Do You Have a Minute? And I'll tell you how this starts. A friend of mine in La Linea has a factory doing aluminium frames and everything. And he was telling me that he wanted to retire. The man is 43 years old. Juan Antonio, they all have 2 names, eh? Juan Antonio, you're going to retire? You've started a new factory, you've got 12 people employed, you're doing marvelously well. Why are you going to retire? And he said, Mira, Davy, have you got a tape measure? I said, yeah. He says, how old are you? When he told me this, I was 65. He says, bring out 65 centimeters and hold it there. So I did. He says, how long do you think you will live for? I said, I don't know. I mean, I don't smoke, I don't drink. Maybe I'll live till 80. He said, okay, bring out 80. And I did. And he said, now look at all you've lived and all you've got left. And you're going to carry on working? It made me think. And I wrote a poem called Do You Have a Minute? Which is illustrated by Michel Stagneto, who is wonderful. Hello, God. Do you have a minute? So many questions to ask about this world in which you placed me after eating from that fateful tree. Despite the lateness, what was my task? What was I here to do? Have I been here before? Will I be here tomorrow? All I see is much pain and sorrow, so much need and hunger, so much war. 70 we have extended with modern medication. We live some extra years, but seldom free from worry, free from fears, so focused on the physical while we suffer spiritual castration. And then we die, and it's all over. Was it worth our many trips, or is it up to us, one and all, to learn your silent lesson, to heed your call? But no, instead, we live a life of comic strips. And while we are here, we reject all commonalities, looking for what differences we can discern, instead of harvesting each good action, each good turn. Ignorance and hatred reduces us to mortal casualties. God, are you there? Do not turn your back, do not despair. I know we try to disprove your existence, relying on science and philosophy you to our distance. and so be free to party in our personal Vanity Fair. Teach us, for we are all your children, and all our passions and desires we are meant to dominate, not to them capitulate, for they lend us all in burning fires. Your tests of life are so hard, or is it that we have realized, despite whatever we declare, that by denying your reality, it makes us free, all our desires to indulge in our animal brutality, having lost faith in every prayer? Oh, is the minute over so fast? I used to think my years stretched forever, but that was in my energetic youth, when I thought I was so clever. Today, full of fear, your gift of life expended, ignorance and doubts are my unwanted companions. I see my time with you has just ended. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And the next poem is about love, on page 17. And actually, I illustrated that one. I'm not good at it, so please don't comment when you see the illustration. It's called Love's Measure. We live in times when all is sized, all strictly measured, all minutely analyzed. Science answers all our questions. Wikipedia has them all recorded for everyone to read while its website is rewarded. So I asked them, the gurus and all with notion, look into my heart, measure its prime emotion. Measure then, I challenged, the sciences and the arts. Take the length and depth and height of this love living in my heart. It is chemistry, said some. It is divine, said others. It was, said a shrink called Freud, born in us from mothers. Each one of us, if truly living, has felt the strength and power, has been torn by love's intensity, stood atop its tallest tower, has soared along with the stars, embraced in its glowing light, been broken by its fragile strength when it left us on some lonely night. But the only way to measure love, the only way to find its cost, is to feel the tortured pain in our shattered souls once that love is lost. Thank you. Thank you. The third stone is hope. And I've chosen a strange poem for hope because it is a sad poem and it is a very strong poem, but it is something that we must hope never happens again. It's in page 195 and illustrated by Anthony Mackay, and it's called Old Photograph. And as I've told you, I write these poems because of things I feel, I see, I hear, I'm told. I saw an old photograph and it hit me. I saw an old photograph today. It was in faded black and white. A row of people stood waiting while uniformed guards were berating those in the queue, frozen in fright. I am told by true historians that among the people standing there, some were bankers, some professors, some shopkeepers, others trouser pressers. Even the children looked on in despair. I could not tell which was which the rich patron of society, which the beggar, which the whore, for there was nothing to underscore the standing of each in their nudity. Despite the cold, they stood so still. They looked forlorn and so resigned. Their hollow eyes spoke of their disbelief, not understanding how they reached this grief, as if the circumstances were ill-timed. I found myself disturbed by this old picture of a group like statues in static permanence. It was clear to see that all mankind is equal. History keeps showing us this in cruel sequel, once we are divested of all our ornaments. This photograph of a painful past, all in that group are now long dead, yet has the lesson been truly learnt? Stripped of their clothes were these bodies burnt, for that queue led only to a false showerhead. as false as the vacuous values we have been taught to revere. Beauty, natural or through silicon obtained. Yet only when all this is stripped away does our mutual worth become crystal clear. Thank you. For the last poem in this first part, poem of charity. It is the favorite of your lady wife, am I right? This actually happened, and you may recognize, I've taken a bit of poetic license on it, but you may even recognize the two people involved in this. I was going by Casemates. You may remember that a couple of years ago, there was an old, rather dirty woman with a dirty dog playing a flute that had no sound, no nothing. She was by the arch, right? And then there's another one that is a very thin man with a dog and a keyboard. And he plays like Gregorian music, something like that. Anyway, they were there. And what you will hear in this poem was actually happened. And this is why I use it for the description of charity. The sun sank low behind the hills, ending a hot and sticky day, when despite all the passers-by, being a busker just did not pay. He packed his reconditioned keyboard, folded the rusty camping stool. His dirty clothes felt big on him, his unshaved face, a poster of life cruel. Picked up his tattered hat, the one that held coins tossed by those few who did not laugh at his songs of life's chances lost. Nickels and dimes there was some, but most just pennies he saw. And yes, a single dollar bill he was quick to withdraw. A flute was playing, not far off, it had no rhyme or reason. Must be old Meg again, he thought, discordant notes for every season. The busker walked across to her, her fetid smell and mangy dog, and saw her tray with just 2 coins, her despair an open catalogue. The busker took some coins from his hard-earned all-day's treasure, bent down and kissed her head, dropped the coins and said, "It's nature's measure." With that he walked away, back to his cardboard dwelling, and did not see the tears that fell from old Meg's eyes now swelling. The busker's dog looked at the man as he sat down and said a prayer. "Don't worry, dog, we'll eat some less, but it's nature's rule to share." Thank you. Tonight, I was going to start with a poem which is a tribute to Leonard Cohen, but my friend Nick, who actually did the following poem with me, loves a poem called Dancing in Berlin. In fact, we did it here with the saxophone and the recital. So for you, I've got this poem which is called Dancing in Berlin, because we see a lot of films, you know, history is written by the victors. And we see a lot of films about the Second World War, and we don't stop to think, although I don't have any particular love for the Germans who started the war and everything, but if you see pictures of what Dresden was, what Berlin was after the war, the total devastation, you cannot help but feel something for the people that were left alive and had to cope with that. So for you tonight, a poem called Dancing in Berlin. Can you put it a bit lower, please? It is an anti-war poem, but written from the point of view of the losers. And it was illustrated by Leslie Raduso, beautifully done. The night is ending. The revelers have gone away. It's past the time for dancing as the city dies another day. A few short, dark hours, then dawn paints bright the sky's black dome. Taxis driving on dew-wet roads, as street people pack their cardboard homes. I wake up to my first cigarette and wonder, will this be the day I'll find a job or any work to feed my kids? I pray. This city full of souls, all hungry, hungry for food, for work, for love. Some try so hard, others give up. In Berlin, both are hand in glove. The war has ended. The victors drink to celebrate. They drink also to forget their dead companions in this war of hate. There's no counting for the losers. Those who survive are the walking dead. Too stunned at the devastation, they lack a life as much as they lack bread. The rich are poor now, and the poor are poorer still. The honest are a dying breed, and the others, for survival, kill. Dancing in its own ruins, Berlin torments and teases. It flirts with all who live in it. It offers only shattered hopes and other destitute diseases. Dance to keep warm this winter. Dance with no wood to burn. Dance with never enough to eat. Dance to the point of no return. Dance to forget your hunger. Dance if you're dying within. Dance to the silent music. Dance in the ruins of post-war Berlin. Thank you. Thank you. You may have heard that the person that I admired a lot, he was a muse, he was my teacher, Leonard Cohen, died at the age of 83 a couple of weeks back. I did write a tribute to him when he was still alive, and I was going to do the book and send it to him. Unfortunately, it didn't give me time. Leonard Cohen, when he first started, it was a love or hate thing. Either you loved it when you heard his poems, or you couldn't stand this dreary voice. But if you loved his poetry, it would speak to you. I read a book about a poet. I read it and I knew his writings were honest. His phrases were modest, yet the magic shone through. I read my own writings, once I thought made music, like a first dance at the prom or a first kiss on a date. But my words were so Jurassic, while every line he wrote was pure classic. My shame engulfed me. There was so much pride to swallow. I, who thought the world of me, who savored my own recipe, now stated dead and dry and hollow. Leonard, you whose first words I heard, whose songs broke through my stoned high, all blurred. You blew me away. You blew away all my aspirations to be the guru of fashion, to be the master of passion, all the time weaving webs of seduction, word by word. You have been my teacher, my guide, my poetic legendary creature. You make it sound so easy, while my own scribbles seem so sleazy. I tremble as I pick up my pen, uneasy. Don't condemn my writings, preacher, as just another empty feature. Guide my hand, guide my soul, for it's from there where feelings come from, all bare, to weave a sentiment, to strike a chord, to make my words a prayer. Twilight falls upon this feel-good night, on a world so raped, so abused, its people and its emotions so misused, as in a mad rush to beat the reaper's arrival, I already hear his footsteps, ending my survival. On the taut skin of apologies confused, Leonard Cohen, do not let these last words be refused. Thank you. You know, unfortunately, divorce has become so prevalent that it is now no longer something strange. It is almost expected from a marriage. 50% of marriages end up in divorce. And when we're in the throes of a divorce, we do things without thinking of the long-term effects of them. I wrote this poem a long time ago, and it is called Divorcing Clowns. I thought that breakup was the only way to set our lives on track, to free us from each other, to get our sanity back. Good choices, bad choices, no choices, who cares? Destiny, fortune, karma, who dares to walk the path paved with all good advisors, to leave all behind for the unknown that now rises. But divorce breeds only losers, except for the wigs and gowns. They milk off all our money from us divorcing clowns. Along the way we battled on, but did not see the harm on the minds and souls of children whose lives had lost all charm. Now they're grown up, all adult, experts at hiding their secret pain from battles never theirs that we fought, but without gain. Sorry is not enough, my children. The clock of life I can't turn back. Let me light the way with warnings so you don't lose your own life's track. And when your years are long, when all you sing are oldie songs, think kindly of this man. I never meant you any wrong. Thank you. I do not want to bore you with too many, but if you would like to travel with me, would you like to travel with me in time and in space for tonight? Yes, please. Travel with me to the USSR, Russia, when it was in the grips of Uncle Joe, of Joe Stalin, that kept an iron fist, everything holding there. And he kept it with his KGB, with his secret police, and with his commissars. He had appointed commissars, which were los chivato, the grass, the people who would tell the KGB, this guy is a counter-revolutionary. Ba-bum. That was it. So everybody was scared of the commissars. And they had commissars. I remember the whaling ships that used to come to Gibraltar. You could always tell the commissar was the one with the brown suit and all the badges. And we used to take in the shop in the hotel, we used to get the commissar, bring him into the office and open a bottle of whiskey, which he would polish off while all the sailors were buying the stuff that they wanted and paying in American dollars, which was, in the Cold War time, that was quite different. Anyway, if you travel with me, this is called the Commissar. Siberia, home of eternal cold. It was the 5th cruel winter after a previous fall. Siberia, land of the cruel frost. In a small village of the Soviet lost, people sat huddled, waiting for the thaw. Ivan had cut as much firewood as he could. Few trees had survived, few bushes too. Few fences through which the wind blew. Few still living of the peasants deprived. A knock on the door. A girl of 10, self-assured. She was the commissar's daughter, radiant as if bathed in holy water, and well beyond her years matured. My father wants double the rations, she said, of the firewood left. But what of the others? Asked Ivan. Sisters, brothers and mothers. A bundle each, only more would be theft. My father is the commissar, the girl imperiously stated. Sadly, Ivan understood. Gave her 2 bundles for his own good, despite the anger such action dictated. The night arrived, fast and black. The snow fell heavier on this frigid zone. All the villagers had collected their wood, but Ivan, with his family, in the cold stood, for he had given away his own. A knock on the door. The same girl there stood. My father, the commissar, sent this. Ivan looked up from his frozen abyss as she offered a bundle of firewood. My father, the commissar, knows you well. You share the same mother. Beyond politics, blood holds true. Because he knows, he thought you'd give away your own and stay cold. Because he knows your heart is solid gold. He ordered double just to save one for you. Thank you. I don't want to go too long into this, so I'll give you the last poem, unless you want any more. But, well, it's up to you. I write poems in Spanish as well as in English. Now, let me give you one in Spanish that I think is a good one. I like it, I got to tell you. It's called Malvada Princesa. Un poema de un ciego amor profundo y una gran desilusión. Me embrujaste con tus andares sensuales, con tus caderas al son de los pasos, de tacones de tiras de negro raso y piernas que prometían placeres sexuales. Me atrapaste usando mi hambre por una hembra que soñara de amores que borraran los dolores de un fracaso pasado que aún me deslumbra. Me sedujiste con besos de miel de rosa, con palabras de semblanza y esperanza, borradoras de toda la bella esperanza, y usabas tus manos para caricias lujuriosas. Me enamoraste con poemas que eran rasgueos sobre cuerdas de placeres atrapados dentro de mi alma y corazón encerrado, que vibraban con su dulce hormigueo. Me embrujaste, me atrapaste, me sedujiste, me enamoraste y ahora me dices que tiene marido y con esas palabras me ensuciaste. Pues sí, te amo. Eres mujer de ensueño, pero no eres para mí ni yo soy para ti. Pues hoy por hoy tú tienes dueño. Y si a él has podido adornar, olvidando tu sagrada promesa de ser fiel a ese tu hombre que en tu dedo puso anillo y te dio su nombre, ¿qué harás de mí, malvada princesa? Thank you. You know, I was in St. Bernard's Hospital for a minor operation. If you know the sound of scissors, snip, snip, one of those. And, yeah, you do know it. And I came out of my room in the old St. Bernard's and I saw at the end of the corridor, saw a man alone in a bed. And I was sure I knew him. He looked really bad. He looked... So I went over to him and I saw it was my friend, Benito. He was alone. He was dying of cancer. And I sat down next to him and I wrote these words. There is a man I knew. He is but bones and his days are few. He stares at me, a silent question of fear. Who's that who passed? Is death now near? There is a man, but now he knows me not. He's getting ready to meet his lot. His eyes ask, mute, imploring, sad, do I deserve a death so bad? But who am I to say what's what? I can't divine who lives or not. His time is near, that is for sure. So what are we, living manure? I knew that man, but now he knows me not. He just counts each breath and wonders how many more he's got. Thank you. And for my last contribution tonight, a poem called Between Man and God. This is a poem about an almost death experience and how my soul, the real me, sees the ultimate reality. This happened because I was flying back from UK and it was one of those days when the wind is blowing and we thought we're never going to land here. The crosswinds are going. And the pilot decided he was going to land. He was going to land no matter what. And he was going, and I tell you, we were going like that on the plane, like that. And just at the last minute, he realized he was going to crash, and he pulled back. And he pulled back, and he pulled back, and he pulled back. And I was really glad I was wearing brown trousers that moment, because it was terrible. And we landed in Tangier. And then the Yogi Bear would shuttle us in. And while I was on the plane, because I couldn't get out of the plane because I had an Israeli stamp on my passport, and in those days Morocco wouldn't let me in on that. And I realized that we could all have been dead there. We could have died, and that was it. So I imagined what would happen. This is one of the poems that are made into a beautiful song by Dennis Valerga and his brother Henry. And it's called Between Man and God. I died inside an aeroplane as it came down to land. 100 bodies crushed and broke. There was no helping hand. I left my body far below. Was that distortion me? It looked a lot like all the rest of dead humanity. I traveled swiftly through the dark. I sped towards the light, this tunnel with no single mark, the end of which was bright. A fiery spark, another, more, all flew along with me. We were all going back to God from flight 1023. A hall was reached. The light was strong. It glowed with healing love. And then I knew I was my soul returning up above. My life was shown. All 70 years of good and bad endeavor. The pains I'd caused, I felt with shame. Could I correct this ever? The being of light came back to show the goodness I had done. But though this brought some warmth to me, pains caused weren't overcome. A word came through to look around at souls I did recall, of other creeds and races, and here I found them all. I wandered for a while, askance in this world of love and light. There were no mosques, no synagogues, no churches were in sight. A flash of joy, a holy cusp of light, of truth in thought, entered my very being. I had found what I had sought. In human life, I'd felt the squeeze, the pressures, and the pain of man-made laws men called divine, and caused me so much pain. Now I can see and understand. If you agree, then please applaud, because it's many of these dogmas that keep man away from God. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me. Enjoy your evening. Thank you. Let's see what I have here. Commissar. You know, there is a new religion in town. And I think we should all pray together to the God Google. The God Google has all his acolytes busy tapping keyboards, busy counting bytes. The God Google claims answers every prayer, but once past the plasma screen, there is nobody there. Morals and the mammoth have lapsed into the past. Decency and the dodo disappeared. They did not last. Jesus and Buddha, Allah and the rest, whose followers once fought and killed to see who was the best, now stand forlorn, confused. They see they're relegated, as Microsoft's new version is already being formulated. Even Cupid and St. Valentine are out and on the dole, as our sliding mouse and cursor have taken on their role. See this naive new generation who at their stations play in virtual worlds and cyberspace that drain their lives away. Because to the God Google, all our prayers fall flat. It's a soulless, heartless vacuum. Is that where our future's at? Thank you. Would you like a love poem? Yes. Love is the most profound of all our emotions. And it leaves a mortal wound in you when it leaves you. This is a poem called I Loved You. I loved you. But you knew that all along. You knew that when you coyly talked. You knew that when you softly walked. You knew that when you heard his siren song. I loved you. When I turned my face away, when my heart bled its final drop, when all your sweet words came to a stop, when the sun finally set on that dark and dismal day. I loved you. As you walked back to try again, as you seduced me slowly one day with your unique and sensuous way, as you lavished your nectar more potent than cocaine. I loved you. I knew you'd come back regretting the mistake you made but desired, when you tested the flames you admired but found only humping and petting and sweating. I still loved you. When you purged my heart from its pain, when I looked and found my own solace, when she held me close in her embrace, when her heart, she explained that I could love again. I loved you once. Now it's all in the fading past. All we had was just a mirage, made up from your lies, a voluptuous collage that held me in your prison. But now, I'm free at last. Thank you.